So we'll go to the notices of motion. We have one notice of motion in Understanding Order 2.5.1. We've received that from Councillor Bartley, and I seconded the notice of motion for her. And we'll go straight to Councillor Bartley, who has changed what was in the notice of motion just around what is actually possible from a council perspective. We do have to have the agreement of the meeting to have those changed. I'm not sure if you can see it on screen. It's removed A, B, and C, and then A is now staff support. I can't see staff support. Councillor Bartley advocating to the appropriate Crown agency or agencies to introduce a fishing ban or other such control in the Panmure Basin to protect the shag species. So before we go to Councillor Bartley, I just need to check if there's any opposition to that change. Right, I'll take that as there's no opposition. Councillor Bartley, would you like to speak to your notice of motion? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the officers for considering this and allowing it to go through. So this is a notice of motion basically to ask for what Ōrākei has. So the Ōrākei Basin has a fishing ban put in place in 2006 by Auckland City Council. So I'm happy to have the notice of motion changed for staff to support in advocating to the appropriate Crown agency, although it does appear that the appropriate agency in this instance is Council. But anyway, I apologise that Karina wasn't able to get on. She just messaged me now that she still doesn't have the link, Suad. If we could please try her again. But anyway, this is about the cormorant shags that are in the Panmure Basin. It's not just a local issue because it's a suburban colony which is dying out. It's dying out because of the limited food source in the Panmure Basin, which suffers from poor quality anyway, due to development and sedimentation and other people fishing in the particular area. So these birds are grabbing onto whatever fish they can get in the basin and are getting caught on people's fishing hooks, which they rip out of their necks, and then these birds die. It's very graphic, I do apologise, but that is the situation down there. When I was local board chair, we tried lots of things as local board to keep the colony going, like signage. So that's how I know we've done everything we can from a local perspective to address the situation, which is why I've brought it here to this forum, because, you know, we've got a climate emergency. This is the Environment Committee. There is a ban, and I'm just asking for that regional consistency, which is the whole point of the super committee. What else? Karina Hooper, who was going to speak in public forum, is the lady that has been going down every day and feeding the birds. So I take her observations as opposed to any desk study undertaken, that there continues to be a decline in this bird colony. And so that is what this is about. So really, I see it's been changed, and basically anything is better than the status quo. So happy to take questions, but really seeking some support from Council to address the situation of this suburban bird colony.
Kia ora, Councillor Bartley, thank you. Karina had been sent the link, and she is online now. I will assume it's okay if we take it slightly out of order and allow Karina her 5 minutes now. Is that fine? So Karina, apologies about the technicalities. If you're on, you can turn your mic and camera on and speak to us.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for letting me join. Okay, so I heard what Josephine said, just the colony is definitely in trouble. The main reasons why a hook ban would be beneficial for the colony and other seabirds in the estuary is the birds are not getting to breeding age. That's the first most important thing. Even though the small amount of breeding birds that are left, they will hatch up to 3 to 5 chicks at a time, normally around 2 or 3 because of the lack of fish. Then you're looking at 7 to 8 weeks where these adults have to look after the babies before they can even fly. After that, you're looking at 10 to 11 weeks feeding these babies, like I said, until they can actually go out on their own. So these adults have got a huge amount of pressure to find food that is already scarce because of the overfishing there. And then you're also looking at these birds are not getting to breeding age. So they may get to the point where they're flying and feeding for themselves. But when it comes to a year and a half old, when they should be breeding, they're not there. They've gone. They've been where they've been hooked up in trees because of fishing lines, etc. So that's what the huge problem is. So we have a minimal amount of breeding birds and we're not getting the babies to adult. So that's, yeah. Yeah.
Kia ora, thank you very much, Karina, for that succinct presentation. I'll just see if there are any questions for you specifically.
Yep.
Councillor Filipaina, a question for Karina?
Tēnā koe Chair. Karina, question is, you used the word hook ban, and we got in the recommendation here, fishing ban. Is there a difference?
I guess, yeah, I mean, you've got to sort of pick your battles. I mean, obviously, set nets have already been banned there. Drift nets should be banned. I mean, I myself personally have seen people down there with a net across the estuary. And because it's not a set net and because they're with it, they're allowed to do it. That is just wrong. I mean, the fish there is tidal. And to have somebody blocking off the canal is just making the problem even bigger. But you know, I mean, once again, like I said, pick your battles. If somebody's down there with a basket trying to get blue crab, well, that's not actually particularly affecting the colony, if you know what I mean. So, but if they throw in a line, that is going to affect the birds more.
Kia ora, Councillor. Another question for Karina. Councillor Stewart, online.
Hi.
Thank you, Karina. Pleased that you were able to get back on. I was just going to say, with the breeding of the shags, were you also aware that there is a concern about the blue light from the bridge that lights up at in the evening and it turns off about 5 a.m. in the morning? There's a lot of the locals are very concerned about the breeding of the shags because of this light that is lighting up during the night. I don't know if you've seen it, but I can actually see it from my home. Yeah. Were you aware of that?
I was, and I have been monitoring that. What I've noticed is happening is some of the birds are moving further down the estuary, especially the herons. The herons have found that light quite difficult. And that's really a concern there as well, because these birds, they breed year in, year out in the one nest. And once again, this is putting more pressure on them because now they've got to build another nest. To do that, they have to come down on the ground, and then you have dogs, etc., off lead. So it's sort of like they've been hit from all sides. Yeah.
And Karina, were you also aware that around the Burswood and the Burswood Bridge area, there's a lot of shags around that area, and there's a lot of concern. And I think the iwi have also been a little bit concerned about the shags and the herons because of this. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I mean, it's a really difficult situation because there's so many things going on at the estuary that is actually detrimental to all wildlife there. And Yeah, I mean, it's if we don't start looking after them now, whether it be looking at what's going on on the other side of the estuary, where you got all the the new bus lane, etc. You got new lights. When Amity was building it all, I pointed out that these lights have to not shine straight into the shags, because like any bird, I mean, it's sort of like common sense. Every bird needs to roost; they need to rest. If you've got constant lights on these guys, it's not natural. It's not a natural habitat. I mean, they've got to have to live with us, I know, but that's where we have to somehow protect them. Can the lights be turned down a bit? Do they have to be directly shone into where the shags are? Do we need a blue light? What is that for? I mean, can we get rid of that? That's the question.
Okay. Right. Well, I've probably got an answer about the blue lights. Apparently, Auckland Transport has said that
Councillor Stewart, we're not giving feedback right now. This is question specifically to the notice of motion, but we can take that probably offline to investigate it.
All right. It's just that Karina did ask that question, so I was just going to tell her.
Cool. Thank you.
I'll have an answer.
Were there any other questions for Karina? No. Okay, thank you so much, Karina. That's been really, really helpful. We will keep in contact with you. Councillor Bartley will be in contact with you over this process, but also whatever happens with this, we'll continue to investigate other opportunities, if there are any, through council processes as well, and whether it's from signage or other issues. So, Councillor Bartley, would you like to move the receipt of Karina's presentation? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Do I have a seconder?
Councillor Stewart.
Councillor Stewart would like to second. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? No, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Karina. You're welcome to stay on the line for the presentation and the notice of motion until it's complete. Thank you. Right, so we'll go back to questions for... Thank you. Questions for Councillor Bartley, and I think we have Councillor Cooper.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Councillor Bartley, you said that you thought council had tools already to deal with this. So what tool is that?
I was just looking at the Ōrākei Basin bylaw, which bans fishing in the Ōrākei Basin, and they have a very healthy bird population down there. So I was just hoping for the same thing for the poor cousins in Panmure.
Oh, so you're thinking that we could make a specific bylaw, because I know that the public safety and nuisance bylaw that covers set netting doesn't deal with that, because it's public safety and nuisance, not animal safety and nuisance. So that might be an avenue, but yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper.
Councillor Filipaina.
Thank you, Chair. My question is to staff, not necessarily to Councillor Bartley. Is that okay?
That's absolutely fine.
Okay. So look, my question is, and I saw an article on TV last night with Great Barrier Island and the Rahui and the application that they're putting in place. What process do we need to go through, Megan, around looking at what Councillor Bartley needs to do around the shag species? Because the word advocating is, from my perspective, is verbal, but I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know whether there's an application process to go through, whether it needs to go, look, I just need to find out what that process is to better, I think, align the recommendation, and that's a suggestion I'll put to Councillor Bartley, depending on your answer. Kia ora.
Kia ora, through the chair. We've been quite clear in our advice that there is nothing that council can do within its own bylaws or jurisdictions around fishing bans and other matters like that. That all sits with other agencies, particularly Crown agencies. And so what we tried to reference here is that given that this is an issue and assuming the committee agrees, that we would support Councillor Bartley in particular to advocate and work through whatever processes that might be through those Crown agencies. Councillor Bartley could also, of course, speak with iwi as well in terms of Rahui, which obviously is something that they would do if that is something that they wish to. So this is really about us supporting Councillor Bartley in considering this, but we are quite clear that we don't have anything that would meet these needs in council's jurisdiction.
Just supplementary, Chair. So Megan, that advocating, I mean, that includes filling out an application form to those entities, the outside
Yes,
or
if that would be
government
helpful.
entities. I think, Chair, that's all I wanted to sort of try and word, Councillor Bartley, is advocating from my perspective is only verbally assisting you, but if there's an application process, what I'm asking is that the staff will assist Councillor Bartley in an application process. I mean, if that is covered by the word advocating, well then I'm fine with that, but I just wanted to make it clear that it's very similar to what Aotea's doing around their rāhui, which is an application process to a Crown organisation. I want to make sure that that's in case that we assist Councillor Bartley in that application process. Kia ora.
Through the chair, I confirm that that's the intention. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my understanding too, Councillor. The other issue is, I think, Councillor Bartley's also will advocate and work with mana whenua. We can't require or request mana whenua to place a rāhui. They have to lead or choose to do that themselves, but we can support them if that was something they chose to do as well. Next up, Councillor Casey.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I did have a question, but it has been answered, but I would like to make a comment when it's appropriate.
Cool. We'll just go through these last two questions and then we'll come to comments.
Okay.
Kia ora, thank you. Councillor Stewart.
I've sort of asked some of the questions already. I'll just listen at the moment. Thank you.
Kia ora, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Simpson.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Chair. Look, I just wanted to make a couple of things clear. Councillor Bartley referenced, that Ōrākei had some things, and it wasn't so much that you're the poor cousin at all. I just want to explain that Ōrākei Basin is a sports basin for water skiing, and it's just not safe to do fishing around a water ski route, which is based on Ōrākei Basin. And added to that, it also has very large flushing gates, which provide quite a drag when they are opened and filled. We have nesting shags at Ōrākei Basin, but it's actually the fishing ban is a health and safety around sport. Thanks.
Kia ora, thank you, Councillor Simpson. I'll take that as a comment to help. Right, we will go to speaking. I don't think there's any other questions. Did you want to, you've introduced the notice of motion, but if you would like your speaking turn now, Councillor Bartley, if there's anything else you'd like to add.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I've covered it in my introduction about this. So yeah, it's basically, I know Councillor Darby's asking some questions about what kind of bird types. I'm not a bird fanatic. I just know it's an issue that's been in my community for many, many years. Tried to address it as local board. And yeah, I do see the benefits of having these birds around for future generations and applaud the work that Karina has been doing out of her own pocket to go down to Pamua and feed those birds every day. So yeah, I'm happy for any support from council. It's better than the status quo, and hopefully we can get some action to support looking after these birds. Yeah, which is basically a fishing ban was what this is about. It's not about the blue light. It's about a fishing ban at Pamua Basin.
Kia ora, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Casey, you'd like a speaking turn?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just want to support Councillor Bartley and Corinne on any measures that will protect the birds at the Panmure Basin. Councillor Bartley and I have been to Ōrākei Basin. We walked Milo and Susan Boyle around there. It's an amazing public amenity and amazing colonies of pied shags. and we really enjoyed our afternoon there. And I can see exactly why, when you go to the Panmure Basin, you might believe that there's some inequality in terms of protection of birds. And I heard Councillor Desley Simpson explain that. I accept that, but I also think there has to be something better for the birds at Panmure than what we've got. So all power to your elbow, Councillor Bartley and Corinne. Thank you for bringing this to Council's attention and moving it forward. Harness iwi strength as well, and something will happen. Thank you very much for bringing it.
Kia ora, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Darby, you'd like a speaking turn.
Just briefly, look, I commend Councillor Bartley for having eyes out for these species. Look, my sidebar inquiry is just inquisitive, really. Look, I'm also aware of this sort of issue, but possibly not to this degree, occurring in other parts of Auckland as well. I'm privileged to live near the coast, and probably at least once or twice a year I notice a shag that you cannot get near, that's hooked up, often through the neck or the bill. And so, look, I think it is something that we do need to look at. I just wondered if I think shag in Māori is kawau. I'm just wondering, maybe the RMSB members could assist us, but maybe we could, backslash the word shag with the Māori name for shag. But I'll leave that in your hands, Chair, and others. Thank you.
That would be up to Councillor Bartley to amend the amended resolution. If that's fine at the moment.
If it's going to help save the birds, sure.
Cool. We'll make sure that we have that changed with the accurate Māori name next to that before the minutes are printed. Thank you very much. Oh, Councillor Walker, sorry, just saw your name pop up. Councillor Walker.
Sure. So look, a quick question. Appreciate the presentation. This fishing ban or other such control, would you support that covering off set netting? Because shags will get caught in set nets. The set net is designed to trap fish. And I can tell you, when a shag is caught in a set net, it's pretty tragic. So I just wanted to ask either either Josephine Bartley or if there's someone with you on this, Josephine. Thank you.
Councillor Walker, we're well past questions. We're in the debate, but Councillor Bartley did say there was already a set net ban in the Panmure Basin. But thank you for that. Right, I just want to also support Councillor Bartley on this.
Thanks.
She's come to me a number of times over this issue, shown me the horrendous pictures of what's been happening to the colony and the birds, and the need to do something. And I think it's really pertinent and important that you, Councillor Bartley, have put this on the radar officially. And even though this is, the advice is that there isn't the tools within council to do things, that does not preclude us to continuing that investigation offline to see what else is possible. And I take Councillor Simpson's references around the different nature of those two basins and their use, which is probably a complicating factor. But I think there is a way forward. We know that the ministers have been looking at different rahui and protections across Tamaki Makaurau and across the Hauraki Gulf, and our different environmental spaces. More than ever, there are more protections and sort of ideas, and probably also the recognition that we do not have the tools as a country or even a city to sometimes protect species that are quickly disappearing, or colonies that are disappearing. So I think there is this is just another puzzle piece of that puzzle that says that we need to be doing more in this space to protect our species. So thank you very much, Councillor Bartley. I will take it to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed to the motion? Perfect, thank you. Carried unanimously. Thank you for that, Councillor Bartley, and we will move to the next item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.